fussed himself, and then he had nothing left to give. He tried to flatter them into dealing gently with Mysy by talking to them as men. One night it went through the town that Mysy now lay in bed all day, listening for her summons to depart. According to her ideas, this would come in the form of a tapping at the window, and their intention was to forestall the spirit. Dygot's boy, who was now a grown man, was hoisted up to one of the little windows, and he has always thought of Mysy since as he saw her then for the last time. She lay sleeping, so far as he could see, and Cree sat by the fireside looking at her. Everyone knew that there was seldom a fire in that house unless Mysy was cold. Cree seemed to think that the fire was getting low. In the little closet, which with the kitchen made up his house, was a corner shut off from the rest of the room by a few boards, and behind this he kept his peats. There was a similar receptacle for potatoes in the kitchen. Cree wanted to get another peat for the fire without disturbing Mysy. First, he took off his boots and made for the peats on tiptoe. His shadow was cast on the bed, however, so he next got down on his knee and crawled softly into the closet. With the peat in his hands, he returned in the same way, glancing every moment at the bed where Mysy lay. Though Timmy Gow's face was pressed against a broken window, he did not hear Cree putting that peat on the fire. Some said that Mysy heard, but pretended not to do so for her son's sake, that she realized the deception he played on her, and had not she the heart to undeceive him. But it would be too sad to believe that. The boys left Cree alone that night. The old weaver lived on alone in that solitary house after Mysy left him, and by the story went abroad that he was saving money. At first, no one believed this except the man who told it, but there seemed after all to be something in it. You had only to hit Cree's trouser pocket to hear the money chinking, or he was afraid to let it out of his clutch. Those who sat on dikes with him when his day's labor were over said that the wearer kept his hand all the time in his pocket, and that he saw his lips move as he counted his hoard by letting it slip through his fingers. So there were boys who called Mr. Queery after he instead of Grinder, and asked him whether he was saving up to keep himself from the workhouse. But we all had done Cree wrong. It came out on his deathbed what he had been storing up his money for. Grinder, according to the doctor, died of getting a good meal from a friend of his earlier days after being accustomed to starve on potatoes and a very little oatmeal indeed. The day before he died, this friend sent him half a sovereign, and when Grinder saw it, he sat up excitedly in his bed and pulled on his corduroy from beneath his pillow. The woman, who out of kindness attended him in his last illness, looked on curiously while Cree added the sixpences and copper in his pocket to the half sovereign. After all, they only made some £2, but a look of peace came into Cree's eyes as he told the woman to take it all to a shop in the town. Nearly 12 years previously, Jimmy Lowney had lent him £2, and though the money was never asked for, it preyed on Cree's mind that he was in debt. He paid off all he owed, And so Cree's life was not, I think, a failure.